Dr. Sam Murray again with another episode of Bible Questions, where we look at questions in the Bible, questions that people ask God because they want to know something, they're concerned about something, they're worried about something, or they want to learn, or questions that God asks people because when the Lord asks people questions, it's not because the Lord needs information, it's because He wants to get our thinking in line with His thinking. And tonight's going to be a very interesting question. It's a question that no one asked. Nobody asked this question, specifically said so. Now, of course, we're coming to you as a pastor of Freedom Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church. We're located at 401 West Sullivan Street in Kingsport, Tennessee. Would love to have you come worship with us. Sunday mornings, Sunday school at 10, worship service on the morning at 11, and Sunday evening worship at 6. We have Wednesday night prayer meeting at 7, where people actually come and they take prayer requests and turn them into their personal prayer assignments for every day that week. On Saturday mornings, we feed hungry people, give them hot meals. If they need groceries to take home, we give them a box of groceries to take home. The Lord has blessed us to be able to do that and have other volunteers from other churches be able to do that. And that's Saturday mornings from 9:30 to 10:30 or 11 till the last person served. And all of our services are online. You can catch our services live or later on they'll be archived. They're on Facebook, they're on YouTube, they're on our platforms with our app, they're on our website, freedomfellowshipmbc.com. And then we have two services that are only online. We have this one, and we have prayer time on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. Brother Jim Perkins leads prayer time, where he takes prayer requests and prays for them live right there in real time. And that's a beautiful thing. But tonight, this is Bible Questions, and the question tonight is a question that no one asked. The Bible says specifically that nobody asked it. They were thinking it, but they didn't ask it. Why did they not ask it? All right. In John chapter 4, verse 27, John chapter 4, verse 27, the questions that they come, John chapter 4, verse 27, the disciples do this. And upon this came his disciples and marveled that he talked with the woman, yet no man said, What seekest thou? Or why talkest thou with her? The disciples came up, see Jesus talking with a woman at the well. Nobody asks him, ask her, what are you seeking? What do you want? Or nobody asked Jesus, why are you talking with her? Nobody asked that. Why were these questions? Why were these questions important? And why did they not ask it? Right? To understand any passage of Scripture, we don't want to ever cherry pick or pull something out all by itself. We always want to get the context, run up to it with the context and see what led up to it, and then see what happened afterwards. And then we're probably going to have a really good understanding of what's going on. All right. In John chapter 1, Jesus is calling disciples, and they're following him. In John chapter 2, the disciples had seen Jesus turn water into wine. In the second half of chapter 2, they saw Jesus clear the temple the first time and took control of the temple. And he accused folks of making the Father's house a den of thieves. And he cleared that temple and took charge of it. In John chapter 3, Nicodemus comes to Jesus by night, the Pharisee, and Jesus tells him, you must be born again. You must be born again. All right. And now let's bring this to chapter 4. Jesus has moved out of Jerusalem. He's heading back up north. He's going through Judea. He wants to go to Galilee, but on the way, he goes through Samaria. And Samaria is a portion of Israel that is inhabited by people who are not pure-blood Israelites, not pure-blood Jews. They're descendants of people that were brought in after the Babylonian conquest centuries earlier. And the Jews and the Samaritans don't mix very well. There's some racial tension there at this time. All right? But Jesus in John chapter 4, verses 3 through 8, he specifically wants to go to Samaria. He specifically goes to a specific town there, to a specific well, at a very specific time of day. And he's going there, John chapter 4, verses 4 through 6. And he must needs go through Samaria. Then he cometh to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well. And it was about the 6th hour, middle of the day, hottest part of the day. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink, for his disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat. So Jesus stops at this well, sends the disciples, go into town, get us some food. And he's waiting there at the middle of the day when nobody comes out to work. At the middle of the day in the Middle East, it's hot. Women normally get water for the household, but they normally do it early in the morning and late in the evening when it's cooler. And this woman comes out in the middle of the day, and only her and Jesus are there. And Jesus speaks to her first. He's the one that reaches out to her. She doesn't talk to him. He speaks to her. John chapter 4, verses 7 through 9, which we just read. He speaks to her. Then the woman answers him. Then saith the woman, verse 9, then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. And she starts out with raising the racial question. They could tell there's a difference between them, very obvious, look different, dress differently, probably sound differently in the way they speak. And she says, why are you speaking to me? I'm a Samaritan, you're a Jew, your people don't talk to us. Why are you talking to me? So she raises the racial issue. And then from the rest of John chapter 4, we see Jesus talking to her about her spiritual needs. He doesn't address the racial question. He blows right by the racial question. He doesn't care about the racial difference. He starts talking to her about her soul. He starts talking to her about living water and everlasting water, trying to talk to her about salvation. And she doesn't get that. She doesn't pick up on it. Jesus, then he talks to her about worship. He talks to her about her sinful condition and her need. She says in verse 16, Jesus saith unto her, John 4, verse 16, Jesus saith unto her, Go call thy husband and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus saith unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou hast is not thy husband. In that saidest thou truly. He said, You're honest. You've had 5 husbands. The man you're living with now is not a husband. You've not married him. So now we know why she's coming to draw water in the middle of the day, when the other women of the town would not be there. The other women of the town would have looked bad at her. They probably would have worried, is my husband next? All right, and they didn't want to have much to do with her. So she came in the middle of the day when nobody else was there, when no women were there to draw water. Jesus went at that part of the time specifically to meet her. All right, he talks about her sinful condition, not to run her down, but to let her know that he knows all there is about her. He knows the real need of her life. He knows the real need of her soul. And then he talks to her about that. And then she talks about, where do we worship? Your people say worship in Jerusalem. My people say worship on this mountain. Jesus says in John 4:24, says, God is a spirit. They that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. Verse 5, the woman said unto him, I know that the Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Verse 26, Jesus saith unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. I am the Messiah. I'm the one that you're looking for. I'm the one that's been prophesied. I'm the one that's been promised. I am the Messiah. That's the point. After he says that, they're walking up. When he says that, he's talking to the woman. He tells her, I am the Messiah. That's when the disciples walk up in verse 27, and they think this question, but they don't ask it. And upon this, meaning the statement that Jesus made, upon this came his disciples and marveled that he talked with the woman, yet no man said, What seekest thou? Or why talkest thou with her? Why did they think this? Okay, we know it's normal for the Jews to think that. There was racial tension, and they didn't talk to Samaritans. The Samaritan woman knew that. She asked Jesus, Why are you talking to me? Your people don't talk to me. So they understood that. They were thinking that, but they also understood, why is Jesus talking to her? But they didn't ask it. Why didn't they ask it? Number one, Jesus was their master. He was their rabbi, their teacher. They respected him. They'd seen him do miracles. And he just declared himself to be the Messiah. Now, many of them already believed that, already knew that. In John chapter 1, Andrew tells Peter, we have found the Messiah, the Christ, and you got to come see him. All right. Number 3, they had already witnessed Jesus do many miracles. They'd watched him turn water into wine. They watched him take personal possession of the temple and say, this is my Father's house. He cleared it, took control of it. They know Jesus talks to whoever he wants to talk to. Jesus is in charge. He talks to everybody. He talks to anybody he wants to talk to. His love is for everybody, particularly people who are sinners. Sinners are the ones who need to be saved. Right? People don't realize they're sinners. They don't think they need to be saved. And they were learning that Jesus' gospel of salvation through him, through Jesus Christ, is for everybody. It's available for everybody. They're learning that. So they were thinking in their normal human self, that the way they've been raised, the way they've been taught, Jesus is talking to this Samaritan woman. Why is he talking to her? They were thinking that, but they didn't say that. They were learning who Jesus was. They had respect for Jesus. They knew about his authority, and they were learning that his love and his salvation is for everybody. So they didn't interrupt what was going on to say, hey, wait a minute, why are you talking to her? All right? Those were the lessons that Jesus was teaching. My salvation is for everybody, and they were starting to learn that. If you like studies like this, where we look at the scriptures, because after this, after Jesus talks to her, then she goes in town. She brings everybody out from Samaria, from Sychar, in to see Jesus there at the well, and he preaches to them, and they ask him to stay for 2 days preaching because they know he's the Messiah, and a lot of them accept him and get saved. So they were able to see what was going on there. Much higher priority than human racial issues, everlasting life, eternal security, salvation of eternal souls. Much bigger issue. All right. If you like studies like this, where we look at the scriptures and answer the questions from the scriptures itself, then hit like, hit share, tell people about it, and maybe send us a question if you have one. All right. Next week is going to be a question that Jesus asked his disciples. Jesus asked his disciples this in John chapter 6. Where can we buy bread for all these people to eat? Where can we buy bread for